Homework 15, Exponential Functions, Video 6, Applications. This is the last video in this series. There are some problems at the end of your homework that are some word problems. Now before you freak out or just decide, I'm just going to skip them, look at them. They're not really that hard. Some word problems are hard because you're not given anything to work with. By contrast, these word problems give you the function and the numbers to put in. So it's a word problem, but they've done all the hard work for you. Building the function is the hard part. Using it's easy. For example, and I believe this is from the very last homework problem I gave. Here's maybe similar, but not exactly the same. The function f of x equals 60 times e to the negative 0.6x plus 40 describes the percent of information f of x a person remembers after x weeks. So in other words, if we put in a number to represent the number of weeks after you've heard some information, the answer to the function is estimating what percent of that information you would remember after that time. Find the percent of information a person remembers after 3 weeks. You know, people panic when they see things like this, but don't overthink it. Somewhere they have to tell you what the x represents. It represents weeks. Oh, look, this says 3 weeks. So guess what the x equals? 3, as I hold up 2 fingers. So all we have to do is let x equals 3 in the function. So we get f of 3 is equal to 60 times e to the negative 0.6 times 3 plus 40. Now, the hardest part about this is going to be putting it in your calculator. If you want to do the exponent part first, that's fine, but it would be good if you could try to put this in one fell swoop. One word of advice, don't ever write multiplication problems like this in your calculator. Use the dot or the x. I don't like using an x because x already is used for something here. But when you're putting an exponent in a calculator, if it's more than one number, you have to put it in parentheses. So if you were to type this in a calculator, if it is a display calculator, meaning a calculator that displays the problem as you type it, you would type 60 times to pull up the e, you would hit second ln. Now something I forgot to mention about this, on some calculators when you press second ln, it will type this and automatically open a parentheses. If it does, great, be sure to close it at the end of the exponent. But in the event that your calculator doesn't, you need to open parentheses. Because at this point, what it will type is 60 e exponent, and if it doesn't open parentheses, open them. And then the exponent, negative 0.6 times 3, close the exponent. So negative 0.6 times 3, and then plus 40. If this is a one-line calculator, you would type it differently. Remember, a one-line calculator does not display the problem as you type it. It can only keep the last number you typed or the last answer it gave you. For a one-line calculator, you have to put the exponent in before you press second ln. So you would press 60 times parentheses negative 0.6 times 3, close parentheses, second ln. And the minute you press that, it sticks all this in the exponent on the e, and then plus 40. But either way, you should get the same answer. Now, what is that answer? I don't know. All I know is it's between 100 and 40. I'll tell you how I knew that in just a second. All right, so 60 times second ln. You know what? I'm going to do this in front of the phone here. All right, so 60 times second ln. Notice this calculator defaults to open parentheses that I wrote here on the exponent. So I will need to close it after typing the multiplication problem in the exponent. Let's refocus. All right, so it's negative, I gotta look around the camera here, negative 0.6 times 3, close the parentheses on the exponent, and then plus 40. Oops, plus 40. And I get an answer between 40 and 100, like I said. 59.91793329. Let me look in the homework and see how many decimals it says to round to. It says round to 1 decimal place. So rounded to 1 decimal place, this is 49.9%, which means according to this model, well, I don't have to write the percent, but in the homework, you type in the answer in a box and there's a percent after it. So it is measuring a percent and they give you the percent sign. So according to this model, after 3 weeks, you retain about 50% of what you saw 3 weeks prior. How did I know it was going to be between 100 and 40? Well, this is exponential decay. Now, if you remember that E, it's a number bigger than 1, so you would think it's exponential growth, but one thing I neglected to mention in the previous video is that a negative up there causes a reflection across the y-axis. Okay? So what used to go like that gets reflected this way and goes down. So I know there's an asymptote down here, and I happen to know what happens when I put 0 in here. I put 0 in here, I get either the 0, which is 1, 1 times 60 is 60, plus 4 is 100, which makes sense because 0 weeks after you see something, you retain about 100% of that information. And then it just goes down from there. But I also know that it won't get below 40 because I knew that this original asymptote was y equals 0, and this plus 40 moved it up 40. So now the horizontal asymptote is at y equals 40. There's no way it's ever going to dip below 40. So I knew it was between 140 because I knew what the y-intercept was, I knew it was decreasing, and I knew where the asymptote was. If you don't believe me, try putting in a larger number, like what would happen after 1 year. We'll plug in 52, and I bet you get an answer really close to 40. It might actually equal 40 to the nearest 1 decimal place. Not all of your word problems or applications in the homework are like this, but most of them are, here's a function, here's what the x represents, stick it in and get an answer. So it's not really that bad. This is actually the only section on exponential functions. The next series of videos will be on logarithmic functions, and the remaining videos will be about logarithms. I anticipate 3 more videos so that your final exam will cover homeworks 15, 16, 17, and 18. All right, good luck, and contact me if you have any questions.